I know, it's been so good. Dude, I'm telling you, you get out in the valley, you get back to a camp like this, and you're like, I never want to leave. But my heart and my prayer is that something deep and something lasting would be happening in your heart, would be happening in your life. And I've talked to people in the 24 or so hours we've been here this weekend that I know are feeling pretty good about like where their life's at, where their faith's at. But I've also talked to some people, and I've also just felt from some of you guys that I know like you're searching and you're hurting from some things. And kind of like Sai had talked about this morning when we were writing things on the cross again, dude, like we're just praying over like the things that you guys are laying down before Jesus. Like I haven't looked at one word on that cross because I'm just like, I don't even know if I can handle like all the heaviness that's there. But that's the real things that not just an emotional response, but a response from your heart, a spiritual awakening from your heart that God's doing something. And so I don't want you guys to forget what you guys wrote down last night. I don't want you guys to forget the things that you said last night. Man, these things are keeping me from unity with Jesus. These things are keeping me from unity with my life group, with my friends that love Jesus because I'm distracted by this or I'm caught up in this sin or whatever. Those things, my prayer is that you would not run away from those things, but you would go deeper into unity. Those things you wrote down, the things that you wrote down this morning that you want to break free from. I love that Silas used the example of a cage, that Satan has people in cages of things that Satan captures us in and prevents us from having freedom from those sins and those struggles. I just pray that those things that you guys wrote down, that those are not things that you would leave tomorrow, that you would forget tonight, that those things came from your heart. Those things came from the depth of what God is doing in your life. And so really, just briefly, I want to talk to you guys about the word discipleship. Okay? Who here knows or has an idea of what a disciple is? All right, raise your hand. Be brave, okay? If you have an idea of what you think a disciple is, a disciple of Jesus, raise your hand. Okay, now I want to hear from some of you. Raise your hands. Shout it out. Just shout it out. I'm not going to call on you. What is a disciple? Spread the word, follower of Jesus. What? Wins people to God. Keep it going. Someone who follows Jesus throughout life. Yeah. Follower or student of someone. Yeah. What was that? Never giving up on God. Following. Yeah. What else? Anything? Good. This is good. Yeah. Man. Yes. Trust. Going to God. Good. In the New Testament, a disciple of Jesus was the example was first set with the 12, right? Jesus called them, and what did some of them do before Jesus called them? What were some of their jobs? You guys know. What are some of their jobs? Just shout it out. Don't raise your hand. Tax collector, fisherman, doctor, carpenter. Yeah, literally dead people, right? Like somebody said like the example of Lazarus, but that's so true. Like when you think about it on like a spiritual level, like people that did not have freedom, they didn't have hope. Jesus called all these different people, and something took place within the hearts of these people, and they said, man, I'm going after Jesus. I'm going to follow him. I'm giving him everything. I'm leaving everything behind. That's our first point tonight if you're taking notes. I hope you're taking notes this weekend. First point is being a disciple or acting out in discipleship means you run after Jesus. You run after Jesus. The early disciples, they ran after Jesus. They followed him everywhere he went. They modeled what he did. They brought him not only their confidence and their skills and what they loved to do, but they literally did everything that he wanted them to do. Don't you guys love my typo up here? Being a discipleship, that's just classic right there. Being a disciple means you run after Jesus. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? Well, what it should mean is that you say, I'm going to run away from the things in my life that are not of Jesus. I'm going to run the opposite direction of sin. All right? So, like, I think about it like this, and forgive me if it's just me being a sports guy and just thinking of sports metaphors, but I think about it like a person that's like a kick returner or punt returner. What does the kick returner or punt returner do when the ball is kicked to them? What do they do? Someone just said they kick it. Oh boy, we need to watch some football. What do they do when the kick returner or punt returner receives the ball? What's their job? They catch it, but what do? They don't throw it. No, no, they don't throw it. They run. Okay? Unless they're not very good and they're always calling the fair catches and fumbling the ball. They run. Who are they running away from? The other team, right? So the other team, their job is to do what to the kick returner, the punt returner? Tackle them, stop them, right? The kick returner, the punt returner job is to focus on receiving the ball and gain the ball upfield, hopefully score a touchdown. But as they're doing that, everything they're doing is avoiding this person, avoiding this tackler. They got to be able to see out in front of them where they need to go, what moves they need to make. And they got all these different people trying to take them out, right? So their job is to run towards something. But in the midst of running towards something, it's very likely they're going to be hit. It's very likely they might be blindsided, right? If they don't have good blockers, it's very likely that it's going to be hard for them to get a good return in, right? Even if they're fast, even if they're agile, it's the same way with the way that we run after Jesus. If you choose this weekend, especially, and I think weekends like this, getting away to camp, choosing your youth group, your life group, your people in your life above everything else you had going on this weekend. These weekends are potentially monumental in your life. They're huge in your life. But you have to make the choice. What are you going to run after? Are you going to continue what God stirs in you this weekend, tonight, and the rest of the weekend, what he's been doing in your heart? You're going to run after Jesus? In the midst of all of these things that are coming after you, that are trying to tackle you, take you out. Things in your life that there's nothing else that those things care about except for distracting you or taking you away from the thing that you want. Are you really ready to make that sacrifice? Because if we're not ready to make that sacrifice, I might as well just put the mic down. We might as well just go play another game, right? We might as well just go back to whatever we're doing. But if you're ready to make that sacrifice, you got to understand, man, you got to run. So many people think that following Jesus means that you just do what other people don't. Like you just try to avoid the really bad things. It means that you try to really think of yourself as a good person. A lot of people think that it means you go to church. You choose to believe in God. And those are all steps. But man, being a disciple, guys, is so much more than that. I know so many people in this room already know that. If you've been a Christian for years, if you chose as a young person to follow Jesus and now you're in middle school or high school and you're like, "Ooh, man, everything's kind of hard when it comes to being a Jesus follower." Right? I don't care if you're homeschooled, private schooled, or public schooled. It's hard to run after Jesus. There's too many things in life that distract us and that want to take us away from what God has for us. I think about the example of Paul. You guys know about Paul? His name was first what? Saul, right? God met him on the road to Damascus, changed his life forever. This was the dude that killed people like you and me. He killed them. He wanted nothing more than to take you out. And Jesus changed his life. And what did he do? What did Paul do? He ran after God. It didn't matter if it was a shipwreck. It didn't matter if he got snake bitten. It didn't matter if he was tormented, beaten, whatever. He went after God in everything he did. And all along the way, he was able to help other people, like Timothy, like Titus. So if you're going to run after Jesus, you got to understand the cost that you're willing to take. And I go back to that verse I used in the first session, John 17, 20 through 21. It talks about Jesus being one. You know, Jesus said, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be what? Say it. That all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. Jesus wanted nothing more than for us to run after him. But he knew when he first made you that you would have the choice. The choice for what you were going to do in your life, how you're going to live, what you're going to run after. And so I want you to consider that tonight, as I believe God's going to do some incredible things in your life tonight. What are you willing to run after? The second thing that God will do if you really want to be a disciple, the second thing that God wants to happen in your life is for you to deny yourself. And I think that's the hardest one. Are you willing to run after God and deny yourself? Jesus used the example in John 14, and he said, if you want to live for me, you have to bear your cross daily. You have to bear your burdens, and you have to pick it up, and you have to follow me. What does that require from us? It means you got to be humble. I don't know about you guys, but it's hard for me to be humble. It's hard for me. My flesh just fights against that I would know that, man, I'm not wrong about this, or I do enough. Jesus says, no, if you deny yourself daily, that means you die to yourself. It means you admit, man, I'm all bottled up with these emotions. I'm all caught up in this depression and this struggle that I have, this sin in my life. I actually got to have a really good conversation with somebody in our youth group recently that's had some breakthrough in their life, and God's just been working on this person, and I got to see a side of humility. And when I had some of these conversations with this person, they were just kind of pouring out their heart, and it was so amazing because the things I kept hearing were, I don't know what God's doing in me, but I know he's doing something, and I know I just got to let go. I know I just got to let go of my hurt. I know I got to let go of my pride. Humility is so important if we're going to be a disciple that runs after Jesus. Running after Jesus, denying ourselves, and taking up our cross. And so the band's going to come up here in a second, and we're going to have a time to just, again, worship and pray and prepare our hearts for what God has for us the rest of tonight. But I want to ask you guys some questions before we get to that point. Are you willing to count the cost in your life? The cost that may be a friend, the cost that may be a relationship, the cost that may be something you love doing, but you know, man, this thing just consumes me. This thing just eats me up every single day. Kind of going back to what Silas talked about this morning with that accountability piece. What are you willing to let go of that Satan's caged you up in? What are you willing to do in order to count the cost to go all in for Jesus? I remember seeing somebody in my life who lived this out. His name was Jason, and he was my youth pastor. And probably like a lot of you guys, you don't always have the same people in your life as you grow up. I had Jason in part of my life as my youth pastor, but he wasn't always there. God called him to something else later on in life. But the moments that I saw Jason live out his faith in the most beautiful way were the moments that inspired me. Because he lived out and he showed what it meant truly to be a disciple, truly to honor Christ with how he lived every single day. I saw that Jason was willing to count the cost. He was willing to do whatever it took in order to run after Jesus. And I know we need that. Each of us need that in our life, and we have no one else than to look to Jesus for that example. They said the cost that the disciples made for Jesus was so powerful. I don't know if you guys knew this, but after Jesus died on the cross, the disciples that followed him, I mean, you thought their lives were sold out to Jesus before? They went all out for the gospel. Most of the disciples that followed Jesus after he died were crucified as well on a cross. But because they didn't even deem it worthy to die the same way Jesus did, they were crucified upside down on crosses. They gave up their life for their faith. They gave up everything they had because they understood that, man, being a disciple is not just a walk in the park. It's not just showing up to youth group. It's not just going to a church camp. It's not just getting excited in the emotional moments. It is denying yourself every day. And so here's what I want to challenge you guys to do. Like we did last night, we're going to play a couple songs. And if you feel led to do it, if you feel convicted, and I pray that God would place something on your heart, if you haven't felt it during the message or the worship yet, for you to do this and for you to be in that moment with him. But I want to encourage you to go over to the cross. We have another section of the cross opened up for you to write something, the one thing that you needed to deny in your life. The one thing that you need to say, man, Jesus, I really have to give this up to you. Maybe it's something else you've already wrote this weekend, and you just need to be reminded that, man, I am holding on to this thing. I am struggling with this thing. But I want you to think about and pray about during these next couple songs, what is the thing that is so enslaving in your life that you just feel like, man, I can't give this up. I can't give up this thing. I gotta be different when I go back to school on Monday. I gotta put on this front. I gotta be this. I gotta do that. What is that thing that you need to deny in your life? What's that thing that you need to give up in order to follow Jesus as a disciple? Let me pray for you. As we pray, God, we just ask that your hand be over these students. God, we ask that you impress it upon their heart what they need to give up, what they need to lay down at your cross, lay down at your feet, Jesus, because you set the example for us of how good, how holy, and how mighty you are, that your disciples would follow you to the worst of the worst places. And Jesus, I pray that, God, that everything in our life would be changed because of that. You are holy. You are mighty. We love you. Show us what we need to give up, deny in our lives in order to follow you. We ask these things in your name.